You know, you got Danny Ricciardo gone to AlphaTauri. They sell AlphaTauri. Is he technically an AlphaTauri employee and no longer with Red Bull? So they've kind of got rid of that. You just don't know all of these things, all these little contract moves as well. So, but look, I will stick by my guns and say this whole Danny Ricciardo thing. Yes, he's experienced. Yes, he's a great driver. He done really good in the sim the other day in a Red Bull and on the track in a Red Bull. Let's just remember that, not AlphaTauri. I think it's for entertainment purposes because Max is dominating so much, it's making it boring.
Didn't he spin on his test as well in the Red Bull?
He did have a little spin, yeah.
A little whoop.
Little woodcut, yeah, little spin.
But it's just for entertainment purposes because no one's talking about Max. The last couple of years, it was, Max is this, Max that. No one's talking about Max because in the nicest possible way, it's boring to see him win. That's why we're talking, you know, who's going to get second? Who's going to get third, guys? We should be saying who's going to get first. Yeah. It's going to be Max. So that's why.
But that's the important distinction as well. It's not the Red Bull, it's Max in the Red Bull, right? Because Checo, like, he must be feeling, like, surely part of this as well. I know you say entertainment, and I think that's a factor for sure, but surely as well, that presence of Daniel Ricciardo, this guy he's been closer to Max than anyone has, right? Yeah. In 2018, I know it was a long time ago, but Max is still, I think, pace hasn't grown, I think, massively. It's the full package that Max has now that maybe he didn't back then. But surely this puts even more pressure on Checo. And I mean, do you think there's a chance? Do you think there's any chance Ricciardo replaces Checo next year?
No,
you don't think
not.
that's?
I've got this mad
even if Checo keeps like fucking it up like he is at the minute.
He is stinking the place up.
The thing is, right, it's like you said, it's not Max the driver. You know, Red Bull make a car for the fastest driver. That is Max Verstappen. Can Checo drive Max's car? No. But can Max drive a car that was suited to Checo? No. He won't be able to do it. That's why they cater to the fastest driver, right? I think, now this might be outlandish and I might get dragged on social media. I think when Checo leaves, Red Bull are going money moves for Lando Norris. Because he represents what Red Bull is about. We were talking earlier.
I'll take it. I'll get free Red Bull.
Helmets literally said that as well.
It's like... Yeah. You got the Gen Z fans, right? Look at the Papaya fans. And I love McLaren fans because they're brilliant and they're young and they're so new to it. And it's like, all these Gen Z fans love Lando. They have to grow as well. So when they grow up and they become of a different age, like how I used to love Lewis as a millennial, now I'm still backing Lewis in the Mercedes. Lando has to go to Red Bull because that's the next stage for him. That's the next powerhouse for him. And that's where his fans and the McLaren fans will end up. Because these Gen Z fans and McLaren, I don't think will stay with McLaren in years to come. So put Lando in a Red Bull car. I think, would he challenge for a championship 2 seasons in? I think he would. But I feel like he would do better chasing Verstappen or defending for Verstappen than he is at McLaren now.
I've just deeped how much of a mad combination that would be for fan bases if both Lando and Max drove for the same
team. And the Dutch love Lando as well. He gets big following, big pops over there as well.
100% of fans at Zandvoort would be supporting Red Bull.
Yeah.
No, you're not getting a half fan there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I just think it's just such a good move.
Why they always catch you straight?
The thing is, I said this other day. Nobody likes Haas as a team, as like a car team.
You're like characters now as well, bro.
They're like characters.
Yeah.
NPCs.
Because I just like Günther Steiner just kicking off. That's literally it.
It's just unfortunately, no one cares because they're at the back. No one cares about these smaller teams. Like no one really cares about Alfa Romeo. Like Sauber. No one really cares.
Honestly,
right?
on my life,
I'd love to care, but
if someone in the comment section cares about Alfa Romeo, please inform us. That's just like an actual educational.
I care about the individual drivers, but the teams themselves. And like you say, if you want to build Red Bull in this sport for market, that's it. They're in the business of selling energy drinks. So every decision they make, they have to be and look, you could argue that about any team, right? But it's a little bit different with a Mercedes, a McLaren, and Aston Martin who sell road cars. Red Bull are in it for marketing 100%.
The thing is with Red Bull, they're born into marketing. So you know how Red Bull got famous?
Yeah.
Got energy drinks, but how did they market them? They screwed up energy cans, just chucked them around the place, put them in bins. So when you go to a bin, put your can of Diet Coke in there, there's loads of Red Bulls now. I'm going to give that a go. That's how smart they are. So by planting the seed that Danny Ricciardo's coming to Red Bull and Checo's going to be out and we're also sniffing for Liam Lawson and so, it's marketing. It's to make us talk about it because Max is so dominant. Like, we don't talk about the person at the top so much. We talk about who's going to take over. That's literally what it is. Watch anything on TV. Watch Succession. Who's going to be taking over number one? If you're not watching, by the way, very, very good.
Okay.
So that's it's just to keep that rumour mill going.
Yeah. And what about Ricciardo Tsunoda? How do we reckon that head-to-head at AlphaTauri?
I don't think Danny Ricciardo gives us a shit. I don't think he cares. I don't think, like, he got so, when he was with Max, you could tell he was scared for his life because Max was going to be the poster boy of Red Bull. So he was scared. He was like, I've got to do this. I don't think he gives a shit because I think deep down he knows he's not going to be.
So why do you think Ricciardo's come back?
Bit money.
Do you think you just think that's it?
No, definitely not. No, I feel like, for me,
surely he thinks he's got a shot at Red Bull. Surely
he thinks he's got a shot at beating Yuki Tsunoda.
I think he's got a shot maybe on the F1 grid. I don't think it's Red Bull. But also, like, ask anyone that's in any sport. If they've got a chance to do what they do week in, week out, you do it. For me, I'm a radio presenter. If you could say to me, and I got sacked, right? Hypothetically, I get sacked from KISS, and I get Capital knock on the door saying, hey, do you want to do a bit of cover? Of course I would, because it's in my blood to do it. So he's a racer. He's not just like a B-Tech driver. He's a racer. So if you get offered to drive fast cars around a track, you've got to do it. But I think deep down he knows he's not back at Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, that is somewhat... I remember when Kevin Magnussen, when he had his year out in 21, and he talked about how, like, when he left, he was quite content that, he'd had his brief moment in the sun at McLaren when he got that podium on his debut, and like... and then he'd gone at Haas and he was kind of lower midfield the whole career. And then he was like, I can bin this off, go to America, do a bit of like sports car racing in America. And like within 6 months, he was like, I want to come back. Yeah. Even if it's at the back of the grid.
I don't care. Yeah,
like he was just like, I want to be back.
Yeah.
So I do think that plays into it. I think with Ricciardo, this is an 8-time race winner. Like, I don't know. I think...
Yeah, can we just say he has to beat Yuki Tsunoda? Is that like a fair thing to say? I know he's been out of...
If he wants any shot of that
would just show then, it's not the car, it's Yuki being faster than Nick de Vries. So that was the whole thing. It was like, oh yeah, maybe it's because Nick de Vries is a bad driver, or is he driving a rubbish car? If Yuki beats Danny Ricciardo, we will know it's because Yuki's faster. Yeah. Because on paper, Danny Ricciardo should...
And to be fair, if Yuki batters Ricciardo, like, that gives a Red Bull a bit of something to think about, because Yuki's 23, so he's super young.
Yeah.
If he beats Ricciardo like convincingly, and Ricciardo, I think, he had the shit McLaren spell, but like he's a known entity at Red Bull. Like they know how to get the best out of him, and if he can beat, then that gives them a decision to make around Tsunoda. I think.
I just think Danny Ricciardo's in the best possible position, because if he gets beat by Yuki Tsunoda, it's because he came in halfway through the season.
Yeah, facts.
If he beats Yuki Tsunoda, it's because he's one of the greatest 8-time winner, and he's got Red Bull blood in him. It's win-win for Danny Ricciardo. It really is. Do I see him on the grid next year? Maybe, but mid-table. Even you might chuck him in Alfa Romeo. Like, who knows?
Well, don't see him in one of these projects, maybe like as a long-term gamble.
So okay,
I think he wants to be at the front again. I completely disagree. I think that's his number one motivation.
So do I.
He got the bag from McLaren. They paid him like 18 mil, I think.
Allegedly.
I think it was about 18 mil. I think it was about 18 mil that he was paid to leave that contract early.
Yeah.
I think surely that's... I can't imagine. Like,
I think he
do something. Do IndyCar. Do like if he's not motivated by winning in F1, then go do. I think he is. I think he wants to get. I think this is his best shot at getting a top seat. He's 34 years of age,
doesn't he?
Yeah, but that was obviously a mistake. Him leaving Red Bull in the first place to go to Renault.
He acted on impulse there. Something I've done in the past before. He acted on impulse because he's got this younger driver coming through who everyone loves. I'm going to leave and I'm going to be better than you. Didn't happen. It happens a lot in sports, in media world, in music world as well. So he acted on impulse, and did it bite him in the arse? It did. But if you're talking from a race perspective, yes, it did bite him in the arse. But he's been all right after that. I think it took a long time for him to come to terms with the fact that he made a rubbish decision leaving Red Bull. Would he be at Red Bull now, though? Who knows? With all these drivers coming through, I don't think he...
I feel like either way he would have ended up leaving eventually. Because we're like 6 years down the line from when he left, or is it 5?
It was 20... What was his first season at Renault? 2019.
2019, yeah.
But that was like trickle effect from like Red Bull. I felt like they just... Anything to do with Danny Ricciardo, they just got rid of. I feel like they were really bitten by that. Even getting rid of the Renault engines. It's like all these little things. I just feel like... I don't want to say he's had his time. He's not going to challenge for top. He's not going to get a top car. Not when you've got young, amazing drivers there. I'd stick him in, like, say, okay, the Audi project, I think that'd be great for him. Oh, we've got Danny Ricciardo. This is amazing. Or Andretti, because I know they're going to accept it. So, rumour is the FIA are accepting it.
Yeah.
Put him in the Andretti. He will smash it with the American team because he's that character. This is why we talk about this Apex film. It's all about characters and show from America. Even Danny Ricciardo, he can give them what they want. Not necessarily on the track, Hopefully, but they'll give him that.
Maybe even Aston Martin when Alonso does eventually retire, which has to happen at some point. You think, right? Maybe.
I don't think he's gonna retire.
They love a big ticket driver.
Yeah.
They dropped
Legacy
Perez
drivers, yeah.
after a 6 season for Vettel, and then got in Alonso, 2 of the greatest of this modern generation.
No, but that is because they've got Stroll in the other seat. They can't actually get rid of him.
They can. He just needs to man up.
No.
Son. So, Papa, please don't do it. No, come on. I've got to think of the team.
Sometimes you just got
Fire your son.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Just
you've
fire
got to
him.
be a heavy hand. Like, do you get what I'm saying?
Listen, Lance, go home, Lance.
It's tough love. It's tough love.
You
It's
have
fine.
to.